Welcome back, crew. It's October, and we are keeping to the horror themes with our new game of the month, The Walking Dead TTRPG by Free League Games, one of my favorite publishers. And if you're new to the channel, what we do is we pick a different tabletop RPG each month, and we spend the whole month focusing on it. Going over, like today, our first impressions as we flip through the book and just things we've heard. The next video where we go through how to build a PC or character utilizing the game's core rule set. After that, we go into how to play the game, going into everything you need to know to be able to show up confidently as a player or be able to run the system as a game master. And then finally, we do a live actual playthrough of the system where we put it through its paces, show all the cool stuff with the mechanics, and raffle off a free core rulebook PDF to one lucky live viewer. And then we end the month off with a review of the system. So definitely, we're doing all the same for The Walking Dead. Today, we're diving into our first impressions. Keep an eye out for our other videos too, as we get further into the system. But before we dive in, I did want to give a quick shout out to our latest Patreon subscriber, Irate. We appreciate you coming through and helping out the channel and keeping us going on that side. And if anyone else would like to be a Patreon subscriber, there's a link down in the description where you can come through, support the channel, get a shout out on the videos, as well as a chance to determine our quarterly game that we'll be running. So if you want to see a game covered, join in on the Patreon and help us decide that too. But yeah, let's dive into it. This is our first impressions video, but this is actually be the second time I've played the system. I got to jump in a game at Gen Con this year, and I had a blast. And a little bit of spoiler alert: we partially TPK'd. Five of the six players died. One of my friends was able to survive, and their character got out alive, which is common for their characters. But it was one of those ones. It felt like the death scene kind of came out of the Walking Dead TV show or comic. It felt like perfectly aligned. We made some poor decisions, got in some human versus human conflicts where we drew too much attention for the walkers, and the horde descended upon us. And I say that's one of the biggest compliments I can give to any game, and especially, and it's what I give often to the Free League publishing games. Is it felt like playing it felt like being in the Walking Dead universe. It felt like it fit. The mechanics supported the feel that was going for it. I think that's just a big thing for any system. And if you're on the fence about playing this one, if you weren't sure about picking it up, it feels like the Walking Dead universe. If you run the rule set right, you'll get that same feel for your stories. And I think that's a really big plus for it. It's something I'm looking forward to diving into because I was a player last time, so it'll be fun to kind of see what I could do to run it in my own style, but still evoke that Walking Dead feel. So definitely something to stay tuned for. But overall, just kind of going through it, as I said, this is a free league book. The art is on point. It's very well made. I've never had a bad book from Free League, and The Walking Dead is definitely not the exception. The art feels like it's a kind of a cool mix of the comic art as well as like the TV show art, because both of them kind of have that space, and even some spots it feels like the Telltale art too, which is like kind of a cool shout out to all the, or at least for me, the three big pillars of the Walking Dead universe. It is a TV show I enjoyed. I didn't finish it. I got to think the last season. I probably will finish it before we get to our actual play. But it's just really one of those fun ones that evokes the feelings. The art is on point. It's a well-made book. Definitely one to flip through. But let's go to some of our other first impressions of the system too. One of my favorites is how the dice system's set up. This one is a based off Free League's Year Zero system. So if you watched any of our coverage of Alien, it's similar setup, but they tweaked it a lot to fit the Walking Dead universe, and that's something I appreciate. I love. It's always cool when you get like a similar setup, but it's not one that seems like they copied and pasted it. It seems like they definitely kind of went through and put some love into really configure it to the Walking Dead mythos and make sure it plays with those expectations. Um, the nice thing with it, though, since it was based off the Alien one, and actually they've done other systems before Alien. Alien's the first one I played with it. But it's kind of has that horror feel where the other Alien is going for sci-fi horror. This is going for more survival horror. At least in the one shot, and what I've seen flipping through the book, it hits those notes really well. And with this one being year zero, it's a D6 pool system. So you'll have a pool of dice based off of your skills. Typically between one through five with the skills that you're rolling. And then you also have a cool mechanic called the stress die. The stress die are fun because they actually make you more effective at doing it. So you'd have your dice pool system, and depending on the number of stress you have, you'd get to add those stress die to whatever rolls you're getting. And anytime you get a six on the die, whether it be stress die or regular die, it's a success. But with the stress die, while they make you more effective, you're probably more keen, more alert. They also have a penalty or more of a chance for things to go wrong or mess something up, as they put it. Because if you hit a one on the stress die, so you're going to mess something up, and that's where they're going to have some consequences that your GM will be able to bake in, whether it be alerting the horde, offending somebody you're trying to convince, your weapon misfiring, something bad is going to happen. And then the one shot I played in, it was just fun. We were trying to sneak around from this horde and try to find two of our people who absconded with our stuff. And we kind of just we had a string where a lot of people were pushing dice and getting extra stress die and just other things happening to we accumulated stress die. So we were being pretty effective in getting successes is what we needed, but we were getting a lot of misses with those successes too, which was just alerting the horde, and that horde just kept getting bigger and bigger until we TPK'd. Which fits the series. You got to be smart, and that human versus human conflict drives it. And it was as I said, perfectly fitting for the series. Other cool things with this one too, outside of the D6, the stress die, I like how they have the anchor system too, where each of the different archetypes, and there's 12 different archetypes that you can pick from that give you some of the key stats. It shows you some of your flaws and weaknesses, as well as anchors, which I liked, because it allows you to anchor yourself to somebody else in the party or an NPC that's close to the party, to kind of give some background for it too, which kind of gives some background, some stakes, and all those types of things too, which I appreciated there. It was fun for the one shot because they came with some of their own prepared anchors and flaws and all of that. It just helped us all dive into the RP a little bit more. Um, Speaking of, I mentioned the threat level thing. I think that's a cool thing. We're going to focus pretty heavily on that, or at least a good bit on that during our mechanics video. The threat is fun. Basically, I think it's 1 through 6 is the threat level, and it shows how aware the walkers are to your presence. Like 0 through 6, I should say. 'Cause 0, you're in a cleared out area, there's nothing there. 1, there's walkers around, but they're not paying attention to you. All the way up to they are actively chasing you. You've got a horde behind you. It is one of the things you got to keep in the background. The game master sometimes sets the level, but players can definitely increase or sometimes decrease it too, depending on the actions they make and how they interact with the world, which is fun. Fits the Walking Dead universe. I'm looking forward to get a little bit more into the mechanics on how that works when we dive into it. So the other big thing I will say for this too, outside of it's got rules for building NPCs, rules for building safe havens, kind of where your home is, whether it be a bus or if you've built like your own prison or city that walled off from the walkers. They've got rules for that to help. They also have there's two different modes for the system. They have two adventures fitting each mode. There's one that's kind of more an adventure campaign mode, where you can kind of go through and have more sprawling stories, similar to the Walking Dead TV show itself. And they have a survival mode. And just spoiler alert, our one shot will be a survival mode. These are designed to be 1 to 2 shot session adventures where you go through, and it's one of those ones where it's a little bit more deadly. Things are a little bit more quick acting, and it's just kind of seeing if your players will survive through the encounter. So that's what we're going to be playing there too. So we get to see, so have some fun and see how our crew makes it through. But yeah, and nice thing with that is they give you two different adventures that fit both sides. I think the Golden something is like the survival one, and they've got one in Atlanta as the campaign mode. But they've got a cool map and a whole bunch of details in there that you can just kind of pick up and run with it as your campaign. So I like, and this is something I've really been appreciating more lately. And I think I'm going to do like a kind of the best in the core rulebook video to feature this. I love when systems put adventures in the core rulebook because it just makes everything so much easier for a game master. Because whether they decide to run those adventures, even if they decide to steal some inspiration or try to figure out how the designers think the system should be run, it's just amazing to have that right in the core rulebook, so you don't have to buy anything extra to see what the designers are thinking there. So big shout outs to Free League for including that. But overall, I mean, nothing too crazy else to say. I mean, this is one that I've enjoyed playing at Gen Con. I'm looking forward to diving in and seeing how the nuts and bolts of the system work. One extra rose I'll give to it, one extra thing I'll point out in this first impressions video, is that it's very easy to pick up and play. I owned the book before going to Gen Con. I backed the Kickstarter, but I had not read anything of it. I just knew it was year zero. I had forgotten pretty much everything about how to play Alien at the time, so it was one of those ones the game master quickly went over it at the start. Easy to pick up, easy to play, and a couple of the other people at our table had never played a Year Zero system, and they were able to dive into it and kind of with minimal explanation from the game master and go through and get to have a fun story. But overall, stay tuned. We are going to be diving into this system throughout the month. There's a link down there. I'm going to throw it with the actual play. Right now, we are going on October 30th, which is the Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Definitely make sure to join us there, but it could be changed. With it being so close to Halloween, some of my players' schedules are impacted. So depending on when we get a full crew, we may update or push it back or push it forward a week. So I will update the crew before we do so. But definitely make sure to come by and get your chance to win a free PDF copy of the system. And overall, if you've had a chance to play the Walking Dead universe or play any of the free league systems, shout out some of your favorite things about the Year Zero system or the Walking Dead, or just things we should make sure to cover for viewers so they know about it too. But overall, thank you for hanging out. Like, subscribe. Big shout out to Irate for joining the Patreon crew. And till next time, everybody.